Welcome to Women's Broadcast Television Network, today live on Quantum Living with Ilona Selke. Today's show will be without an interview. I will be talking to you about my contribution as a co-author to the book Success Blueprint with Brian Tracy. Now, Brian Tracy, as you may know, came from meager beginnings and made himself a multi-zillionaire and super well-known author, motivational speaker, and he's inspired millions of people to live their dreams by teaching them simple methods of goal setting and pursuing their goals with their mind. And I was chosen to participate as a co-author in the book Success Blueprint, which came out just on Christmas. The Christmas Eve, I was given an email with a surprise message that said, "Welcome and congratulations, you made it to best-selling author." Now, I want to give you a little bit the making of the Success Blueprint chapter, tell you what I wrote about, and give you tips and hints as to what you can do in your life to create a successful life. So, first, let me start out. When I started my very first book, it was my children's book in 1993, I decided the message that I had learned through studying with Dr. Vern Wolf was amazing. And I wrote it down in a children's book with pencil, drew it out, and at the same time, I envisioned reaching millions of people. Now, that children's book, meanwhile, has been translated in English, French, Russian, Polish, and actually for that Christmas, it sold 400 copies in 1 week. So I envisioned then later to reach more and more people, and I wrote the book subsequently called Wisdom of the Dolphins, and another book, Yoga for the Soul, Dolphins, Love, and Destiny. And I had now reached, it was in 2016, I thought I need to get another book out. And I envisioned reaching my goal, envisioning what it would feel like if I had like a best-selling book and all these people would be able to feel like enlightened. I already had really good success before and was best-selling in Germany, but in America I hadn't done that yet. So I envisioned reaching outreach of humans and uplifting people. And because I'm Gemini, I really do well with having communication and having a buddy system. It works really well if you ever set goals to have an accountability, a person whom you call, whom you are accountable to, and whom you tell what you've succeeded and how much. You know, I did a chapter, I did a quarter chapter, I did a paragraph, whatever you did. So I found a woman, and I did that with her, and every day we would write each other. And soon I felt like I was really going somewhere with it, but then comes travel, and I'm in Bali, traveling to Europe, and things get a little bit interrupted, and my buddy partner went to a foreign country, to actually South America for a study, and so we got a little disinterrupted. But I still held my vision that I held on, and I energized every day. So if you want to achieve something, be sure you have a goal, and then describe to yourself what it is, and then take 5 minutes each day feeling what you would feel like if you had achieved your goal. And then get a symbol that represents that feeling, and then let God do the rest. So I did. Then one day an email comes in and says, "Would you like to co-author with Brian Tracy?" I let the email go by. I'm like going, that's too big of a name. They couldn't possibly mean me. I mean, did they really write this email to me? A couple days later, I took another look at that email, and I thought, you know what, I should really consider this. I mean, they're asking me, why don't I look into it? Make a long story short, I actually committed to being a co-author and to write a chapter. And my chapter is called Living in a Holographic Universe. So today I would like to tell you about the techniques that I wrote about in the chapter Living in a Holographic Universe. I based it on a real life story, and I invite you, the reader of the story, along on a little journey, on an airplane ride. See, every summer I go to Florida and I take people swimming with wild dolphins. And I have done that since the mid-90s, actually 1992. Don, my husband, and I went swimming with wild dolphins. First looking for a place and then finding a fabulous place. And then taking people out and letting the dolphins interact with us. So I was flying to Florida to do so, and Don and I were sitting next to each other in this airplane, and We had to stop over in Washington, D.C. And on the way to Washington, D.C., they decided to tell us it's raining there, it's a thunderstorm. We were starting to cycle, being in a holding pattern, and they said, it's not going to happen. And the pediatrician that sat next to me said, we won't land in Washington, D.C., we will be landing in Baltimore. And in Baltimore, you will be taken off the airplane, all your luggage will be taken off, and they'll bus you over to D.C. Once you get to D.C., they will probably get you booked on another flight, but you know what? You'll probably be late, so you should count on arriving tomorrow. He was sure of it because he'd done it a million times. He was flying into Washington to do a lecture, and he'd been through the same summer storms many times before. So next to me, a pediatrician, a doctor who, we believe in, and the announcement that says you'll be rerouted. I'm determined. I am not going to take no for an answer. I was reading my book, Time Shifts, in the airplane, and I thought, actually, I should be shifting my reality. If we have parallel dimensions, now think with me, if you had all the parallel options of a reality around you, you could easily say, what do I like about my life right now? How else would I like it to be? And then you make a choice, and you shift your field into the reality of where it would be perfect. And we can do that in an instant notice, and the universe will respond. The only trick is that if you learn how to harness the focus of your mind and consciousness, the more you train your mind, the more laser sharp your mind will be, and the faster your results will be. Now, mind you, I've done this training since the late 1980s. So you can do your math. That's been a long time, and I've been doing these techniques pretty much daily since then. So here we are, we're sitting down, I close my eyes, and we're starting to land, and we're rolling, and I'm like going, I am in Washington, D.C., I am in Washington, D.C. I imagine clapping, shaking my husband's hand, and I feel certain this is going to happen. So just as we come to a break, I turn around, say, Don, thank you, that's well done. And Don is like, what? We landed in Washington, D.C., I said. Comes the announcement. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Baltimore, Maryland. What I hadn't told you yet is that the little video in front of us was showing that we were being rerouted. In the 777, which we were flying in, they have these little videos in front of your seat, and they show the route that you're going to fly into. So we were flying into Baltimore. Landed, and the announcement came through, welcome to Baltimore, Maryland. And I turned to Don and I thought, what did I do wrong? I was so sure I was going to land in Washington, D.C. The pediatrician next to me pipes in and says, see, what did I tell you? Needless to say, I'm dismayed. I'm going, close my eyes. Dear universe, this is only going to be so much of an effort for the entire universe. And why couldn't we have it like easy on everybody? We can go and land in Washington, D.C., and everybody's luggage will be in Washington, D.C. United Airlines doesn't have to reroute us. It's a win-win deal for everybody. Provided, dear universe, you don't have any other plans and I'm not supposed to maybe be in Baltimore, who knows? I did this exercise while we were taxiing until I felt this certainty in the back of my spine. In the back of my spine, I get this feeling when something is 100% on. And you can practice this feeling. When you envision something, it's like a certain amount of money coming into your life or a certain experience coming into your life. Envision yourself in it until all of your cells can say yes. So this day I felt it, and instead of congratulating Don before we arrived, I imagined hearing, we landed in Washington, D.C. Yes, I said, and I will congratulate Don after I heard my confirmation. We came to a full stop. They were preparing to open the doors. The voice comes on, ladies and gentlemen, we actually landed in Washington, D.C. I was just informed we were just landing in Washington, D.C. Everybody clapped their hands. I turned to Don and said, thank you, we're in Washington, D.C. Now you might be doing what I have done before, is ask myself, how is this possible? Is this a dreaming universe? Is it really responding to my thoughts and imagination? I had done other very miraculous things with just that technique. In the Living from Vision course, we call that technique stop, look, choose. So what you do is you stop, which is what I did. I stopped my film. I took myself out of the situation and I looked at the situation and I thought, okay, where am I? Taking stock of the situation, looking at what is. Derouted into Baltimore, and where I really wanted to be was Washington. Look, feel, what is it like? I take myself out of the film, out of the current reality, out of believing that this matrix is the only one, and choose within the possible parallel dimensions of realities the one choice that aligns with what I feel is the highest choice. So I then chose Washington, D.C. would be the most fitting because the next day I had to teach a seminar and there was no two ways about it that I had to be there. People were flying in from all over the world and I could not afford to be late. I had in all the 20 years never been late and never gotten derouted, but this day was the day. So in re-envisioning what you really want and stepping out of your film, you stop, you look, you choose. You have to understand that you are living in a living matrix of your dream universe. Now you can look this up. You can read about all these quantum physicists who've chosen to accept a universe in which you, the observer, create a quantum shift in the materialized world around you. And you can back up your understanding with scientists saying the same thing as I'm saying now. But I'm giving you a practical story. So I had re-envisioned my life. I thought a parallel universe in which the ideal outcome exists, and I switched into it by closing my eyes and feeling as if, for a moment, this had already happened. Now, after having switched into this universe, I then had allowed this feeling of certainty to allow into my cellular body, and only when it was confirmed, congratulating myself on it. I also communicated with the universe at large, God, whatever you may want to call it. And I said, if this is the best choice, please make this happen. If not, up to you. Maybe I'm supposed to be there and meet somebody. I never know those things, right? So in the end, it takes me out of the ego driving. It's more the higher will, thine will be done. But somebody has to make the dreaming happening, right? So it might as well be me with an ideal version. When the purser affirmed that we were landing in Washington, D.C., of course, everybody was happy. And I did what you might have done, is ask yourself, is this really happening? Did this just happen by coincidence? And as a matter of fact, if this hadn't happened so many other times to me in my life, I might have well thought, well, it's just coincidence. But when you learn to focus your mind and you train your mind to a laser-sharp focus, you can expect miracles that can be that instantaneous. There are stories of yogis all over the world that can manifest ashes or flowers in their hands, or can make things grow in an instant notice. In a couple of minutes, they can make seeds sprout into a plant. So if they can do it, we can do it. I'm telling you a story. I'm an ordinary woman. Really, I started out like everybody else did with a dream, and I just pursued my dreams long enough with enough training, and I used the Living from Vision course as my base training, along with the techniques that I learned from Dr. Vernon Wolf, which are embedded in the Living from Vision course of what to do when you run into problems, what to do when you run into conflict, what you do when you run into doubts. So I use these techniques to reshift my internal dimension to create an outside world, which then reflects to me an ecstatic world. So I was then accepted into the book Success Blueprint with this story, which taught the technique Stop, Look, Choose, as described on a successful story of reimagining your reality. And in my other books that I've written, and in the upcoming book, Dream Big, The Universe is Listening, I am describing stories like that, that give you, the reader, the positive belief that dreaming is a necessary part of being human. And you are the eyes and the ears and hands of the divine matrix creating heaven on earth. So here I am talking to you from Lombok, and 2 nights ago, I escaped here with my husband of 34 years, and we wanted to get away from being known and people knowing us, because we have a retreat center called Champala on Bali, and a spa and people know us. And so I thought, let's go far away where nobody knows us. So we drive up on the second day after we've spent the night somewhere where I felt like I was out of place. And I'm like going, okay, what do I really want? I re-envisioned paradise, heaven on earth around me. I spun a field in my mind and imagined meeting a most glorious, light-filled being. So this part I did do. I thought somebody must be on Lombok that fits the picture. And then we were driving to our new hotel on GPS, and my husband is driving and I'm on GPS looking. And I said, well, we have to take a right-hand turn, but there wasn't one to be found. Then we saw a sign, Ayurvedic clinic, vegan food, healthy food, that's what we love. But we went too far and the GPS told us to turn around, so we turned around, found the driveway instead of this road, came there, got undressed and decided to go for dinner to the vegan restaurant that was an Ayurvedic clinic. No less did we come in and I found out the German woman working there and being the therapist at the Ayurvedic clinic and the cook and the one who does all these amazing retreats for people. And I said, what's your name? And she spoke with an accent. I said, oh, you're German. So her name was Daniela Priske. Oh, nice to meet you. She looks at me and she said, and you are Ilona Selke. And I'm like going, yeah. And she said, I wrote you 1.5 years ago. I said, oh, a lot of people do. Sorry. She said, I had bought the Living from Vision course in 2002. And my life has completely changed. And 1.5 years ago, I wrote you and wanted to have the upgrade from my old system, which was on paper and with cassette tapes, and get the upgraded version for the online course. So I gave her a deal, and I was so happy that she was still doing the course after, 15 years. And she remembered that she had written me, she had done the course, she used the daily app, and she said, look, this is what I manifested. So this is why I chose this background. You hear the mosque people chanting for prayer in the background, maybe the ocean you can hear in the background, the boats here, and this fabulous island life that she has created in this amazing little clinic where she runs, and she has studied with a master Ayurvedic doctor, actually the most renowned Ayurvedic doctor in Sri Lanka, who taught her all the techniques, and I saw results that she had produced in her clients. So I'm signing up next month. I'm coming for a week here to let myself be luxuriated and cleansed in an Ayurvedic way. So I'd like to give you an addition to the story that really amazed me. And it shows you the power of our visualization, our focus. Daniela had told me that she'd started doing the Living from Vision course in 2002. And she'd also told me that her sickness that she'd had for 17 years started changing when she came to an Ayurvedic clinic in 2003. Her mom had actually given her the trip to India to a renowned doctor. And I put 2 and 2 together and I asked her, I said, in 2002, when you started the Living from Vision course, did you envision yourself healthy? Was that one of your goals? And she replied by saying, well, I didn't specifically choose health because that seemed like impossible to her because for 17 years she'd suffered and no doctor had been able to help her. She said, I just envisioned myself living an empowered life and I would float up into this green light and would feel it surrounding myself, and then I would just be this empowered, healthy woman. So she didn't specifically focus on getting healthy, but she envisioned the end result of what she would feel like if she were the powerful, empowered woman. And then within a year, her miraculous trip to Sri Lanka, to the Ayurvedic clinic, and her magical turnaround all coincided with her continued visualization of having a magical life, in which then she became healthy, in which then she started her own clinic. She studied Ayurvedic with this doctor as a therapist, and then she opened her own clinic, first in Germany, in a very well-renowned spa resort area in Baden-Baden in Germany, and then later on moved here to Lombok in the area of Bali in Indonesia. So that's where I'm currently speaking to you from. So she, in her mind, just said 2002, she started with the Living from Vision course, and her life is this now. And her health hadn't clicked with her, having been related to her visualization of her being strong. Now, this happens generally speaking a lot. We start focusing on a better life, and all the things that need to come into our life in order to bring about that result will start manifesting into your life. So this is something I'd like you to remember if you can. Whatever it is you want to become, the necessary things that will need to show up in order for you to become that person will show up when you occupy the future in advance. See, we are little time travel machines, and we actually preoccupy a blueprint, the blueprint for success. And that is what I wrote in the book Success Blueprint with Brian Tracy and other co-authors, because the blueprint starts in our emotional body. It starts in occupying the time space where the reality is already the way you'd like it to be. But you have to feel it with such certitude and such immersion into the feeling, and occupy all your senses for a short moment, a little mini vacation, that you could actually believe it is happening right now. And then you let go and you let God. See, and the technique, Stop, Look, Choose, is one of the small steps we teach. We actually go through the exercises every day through the app that goes in tandem with the online course. And you practice previewing your day and also reviewing your day. See, a lot of us at the end of the day take not enough time to be grateful for what is working, and we aren't necessarily even taking time to pre-envision where we want to go and to look at what we have learned and what we could be doing better. Taking stock of your life. This could be something you could do starting today. At the end of your day, start thinking about 10 things you're grateful for, and start thinking about a few things that didn't go the way you wanted them to have gone. And then take the luxury of re-envisioning the moments that you didn't think were as great as you wanted them to be, and pre-experience them or experience them in your mind in fulfillment. We learn retroactively a lot from our mistakes, and our mistakes are our stepping stones to get us into a better future. So take time to review in your day and take time to preview your day. And with those, I'd like to summarize the points that we learned today. One is, when you're in a situation you don't like to be in, stop, take time out, become the observer. Do what quantum physicists say makes magic happen, which is observe what's going on and then decide on what it is you really want. Stop, look, choose. The number 2 thing that is important is gratitude. The universe listens to us. Whatever we're grateful for shows up more. And number 3, as this story that I've told you clearly shows you, stay with the program. Some people want to have instant results, and as for myself, I can ask for instant results and get them. But I did practice the techniques for a long time. My first amazing results happened within 3 to 5 weeks. Now, that isn't instant in my book anymore. But 3 to 5 weeks is pretty quick. Some people need to stick with their program maybe 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, until their bigger goal truly sets in, depending on the size of who you are when you start out and the size you imagine yourself to be as a luminous being. It'll take a little time for you to fit into those shoes and to rearrange your mind to be positive and to hold a positive focus and feeling until your dreams do come true.
One of the things that I learned, by the way, is that becoming a self-made millionaire is not the important thing. What is really important is the person you have to become a self-made millionaire. You have to become a totally different human being. One of my friends says that in order to achieve something you've never achieved before, you have to become someone you've never been before. And it's a really important insight, is the qualities that you need to develop, qualities on the inside to become a self-made millionaire, are incredible qualities that make you a vastly better person. So, the success secrets of self-made millionaires. Give yourself a score of 1 to 10, and if you are weak on one of these, it can be enough to hold you back. If you're strong on all of these, then there's no limit to what you can accomplish. The first is to dream big dreams. Dream big dreams. Practice what is called back from the future thinking and project forward. Develop a vision of yourself as happy, healthy, wealthy, thin. Practice what top people practice, which is what is called idealization. You project forward several years and you imagine that your life is perfect in every way. Imagine that you have no limitations. Imagine that you have all the time and all the money and all the friends and all the contacts and all the education, all the experience, and that you could be or have or do anything you want in life. If you could, what would it be?
So I hope that you take a look at any of these things. You can download my book free of charge from my website, livingfromvision.com. If you sign up there for my newsletter, you get the book, Wisdom of the Dolphins, which I've dubbed Living in a Holographic Universe, free of charge. And I can highly recommend reading it from beginning to end. I teach techniques in that book that you can use in order to make your life more phenomenal, more radiant, a heaven on earth. So I invite you, come take a step along with me on the journey. I'll help you. I'll be by your side in whatever capacity. Now, with those 3 points, stop, look, choose, being grateful, and staying with the program of pre-experiencing your success in advance, I'd like to let you go and invite you to join me on another show with another interview or a sharing of myself here on Quantum Living, live with Ilona Selke around the world. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.